my back blown out in peace. You think I got time to talk about a divorce that's a year old?
Teyana Taylor had no idea what was coming. She thought things were finally stable. She had her daughter. She had her peace. She had walked away from the past without bitterness, without drama, and without public explosions. She had done everything with grace. But even grace can't protect you from betrayal that moves in silence. The news didn't come from Iman. Not through a text. Not in a call. Not even as a quiet heads up. It came through her lawyer. A cold, heavy envelope full of legal language that pierced through her like a blade. The man she once loved, the father of her child, had filed for full custody, and he did it behind her back. Not shared custody, not something they could talk about or meet halfway on.
No.
He went for everything. Full legal and physical custody of their daughter. And that wasn't just a legal blow. That was personal. That was war. The moment her lawyer said the words, Teyana's body gave out. She collapsed. Not from weakness, but from shock. From pain. From realizing that someone she once trusted with her life had just made a secret move to take her child away. People in the office said she couldn't breathe for a few seconds. Her team rushed to hold her up. She kept saying, "Why would he do this? Why would he do this?" But Iman had already done it. Quietly. Calculated. From the outside, their breakup had looked respectful. Teyana never dragged him. She never hinted at all the emotional weight she carried in that relationship. She never aired him out, never told the world what it really cost her to keep that love going for as long as it did. Even when the cracks showed, she covered them. For their daughter. For their family. For his image.
But Iman?
He waited.
Watched.
And then made his move when she least expected it. People close to him said he'd been building a case quietly. That he'd started documenting moments where he felt excluded, where he disagreed with her decisions, where he felt like Teyana was too busy or too career-focused to raise their child the right way. But instead of coming to her with those concerns, instead of trying to co-parent like two adults who still had respect for one another, he skipped the conversation and went straight to court. Teyana was blindsided. She had no idea he was even thinking about something so extreme. Because in all her efforts to keep things calm and civil, she never imagined Iman would try to use the legal system against her. Especially not like this. And when the documents leaked online, it felt like a second slap in the face. Fans saw it before she even had time to respond. The headlines were everywhere. Iman Shumpert files for full custody. Teyana blindsided. Quiet battle explodes behind the scenes. And under every headline, people started speculating. Was she a bad mother? Was there something the public didn't know? But her people moved fast. Sources close to her came forward, trying to clean up the mess. They explained how she had always been the primary caregiver, how she structured her life around her daughter, how Iman had been the one who was inconsistent, showing up on his own time, when it suited him. Still, the damage was done. Teyana had already been hit with the deepest betrayal of her life, and the whole world was watching. She was photographed leaving her lawyer's office a few days later, glasses on, face pale. She didn't say a word to the paparazzi. She didn't need to. Her silence said everything. Her body looked tense, fragile, like she was holding it together by a thread. And walking right beside her was her mother, holding her hand. One person who was there said they saw Teyana whisper, "He's trying to take her from me," and her voice cracked on the word take. The internet exploded with reactions. Some people tried to play devil's advocate, saying maybe Iman just wanted to be more involved. But most weren't buying it. Most people knew what this really looked like, a calculated, quiet attack disguised as fatherly concern. And when Teyana finally posted on social media, it wasn't a full explanation, just a message in plain white text on a black screen. When someone uses what you love most to hurt you, it's war. The comment section filled up in seconds. "You don't deserve this."
"He's sick for that."
"She stayed silent for too long." "Protect her at all costs." The post went viral. Celebrities reshared it. Fan pages flooded Instagram with photos of her and her daughter. The The hashtag stand with Teyana started trending. People were furious, not just because of what Iman did, but because of how he did it. He didn't give her a chance. He didn't come to the table. He didn't ask to meet halfway. He just moved in secret, as if the child they raised together could be removed from her life with a single document. And he still hadn't said a word. No interview, no post, no defense. But that silence? It only made things worse. Because the more he stayed quiet, the more people came forward. Someone from Teyana's camp leaked old screenshots. Texts where Iman had missed important school events. Times when he said he was too busy to take their daughter for the weekend. One text even showed him ghosting Teyana for a whole week after promising to pick their child up. The receipts were coming fast, and they were ugly. It became clear that this wasn't about parenting. This wasn't about love. This was about control. Sources close to the situation said Iman had been upset about Teyana moving on. About Aaron. About the new calm energy she had around her. He wasn't part of her world anymore, and that stung. So instead of healing, he retaliated. And instead of talking to her, he used the courts to try to win a battle he could never win in love. But Teyana wasn't backing down. She fired her old legal team and brought in one of the most respected custody attorneys in the business. Her team began building a case of their own. One built on facts, consistency, and undeniable love. Teyana wasn't perfect, but she had always been present. Always. When Iman was gone for games, she was there. When he was flying out to parties, she was there. When their daughter got sick, cried in the night, needed answers about the world, Teyana was always there. That's not something court papers can erase. And she knew it. That week, she posted a new photo, one from a rehearsal. Her head was tilted back, eyes closed, tears slipping down her cheeks while she held a microphone. The caption was short. "I won't break. I'll bleed in art." It was raw, honest. And it reminded everyone that Teyana Taylor has always been more than just a performer. She's a woman who puts her whole heart into everything. Even in pain, she shows up. Even in betrayal, she still rises. More people began speaking up for her. One of her close friends shared a story about Teyana refusing to tour unless her daughter could come with her. How she always made sure bedtime routines were followed, even in hotel rooms. How she'd skip red carpets if it meant staying home for her baby's school recital. That wasn't just love. That was motherhood. Iman had underestimated her. Maybe he thought she would fold. Maybe he thought she'd keep quiet just to protect his image, that she'd bite her tongue, swallow her pride, and let the world spin its own story. Maybe he believed the public would turn against her, painting her as the villain in some celebrity soap opera. But here's the thing. He forgot who Teyana Taylor really is. And that mistake? It's going to cost him. Because Teyana doesn't fold. She doesn't crumble under pressure or back down when the odds stack against her. No, she transforms. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every stab in the back, she uses it to fuel her fire. And this time, she was transforming her pain into something fierce, something unbreakable. Behind closed doors, sure, she was devastated. There were nights she cried herself to sleep. There were moments when the weight of betrayal felt unbearable. But in public, she was rising, glowing with a strength that refused to be dimmed. And fans? They saw it. They felt it. They rallied behind her like never before. The narrative was shifting fast. This wasn't some petty breakup or a tabloid headline. This was a mother fighting tooth and nail for her right to be in her daughter's life. A mother blindsided by the man she once trusted more than anyone else. A mother who refused to let the system, or anyone else, rip apart what she had built with love, sacrifice, and blood, sweat, and tears. As the custody battle heated up, the tension wasn't just in the courtroom. It was everywhere. Social media exploded with support for Teyana. Hashtags trended. Messages poured in. People weren't just rooting for her. They related to her. Because this was about more than just two celebrities tangled in a messy split. It was about the real struggle so many women face, fighting an uphill battle to protect their children, their dignity, and their truth. Meanwhile, Iman stayed silent. No interviews. No comments. His silence echoed louder than any statement. And in the court of public opinion, silence often speaks volumes, and in this case, it was being read as guilt. People speculated, debated, and wondered what was really going on behind the scenes. Then, out of nowhere, a tweet appeared on Iman's account. It read simply, "I just want peace." But the damage was done. The internet wasn't buying it. Replies flooded in. Then why didn't you talk to her first? Peace doesn't start in a courtroom. Too little, too late. Within an hour, the tweet was deleted, as if trying to erase it would erase the mess. But words don't just disappear, not when trust is broken and hearts are bruised. And through it all, Teyana stayed calm. She didn't engage in petty battles or exchange barbs. She didn't drag names through the mud or lash out in desperation. She focused on what mattered most, rehearsing her next moves, staying close to her daughter, and holding her head high. She let her actions speak louder than any paper filed in a courtroom or any social media jab her ex could throw. And maybe that's the part that stings the most for him. Because even after everything, she still won't stoop to his level. Teyana Taylor knows exactly who she is. A fighter, a mother, a woman with unshakable strength and unbreakable resolve. And now the whole world knows it too. No matter what storms come her way, she refuses to let anyone, not even her ex, steal her power or her peace. Because some women are made for this fight. And Teyana? She's a warrior, rising from the ashes with fire in her soul and love in her heart.